What's up, YouTube family? Hey guys, welcome back. Well, I've been ripping up the streets with some biker family, and we've been cruising it up, racking up some serious mileage on the bike, and just having all kinds of fun. But you know, it's that time, and in every biker owner's life, that you gotta show some love back to the bike. It's definitely time for that oil change. Coming at you right now. That's right, the oil change. One of the most important and vital things to do for your motorcycle at any given time. Alright, these are the things that you're going to need whenever you go to change the oil in your bike. In this case, I've got it all together in my drain pan, of course, but here are the things that you're going to need. You're going to need an oil pan, something to drain the oil out of the bike and into. You'll need a ratchet. In this case, for this bike, I need a ratchet, a 14 millimeter socket so I can get the actual drain plug off of the bottom of the bike. And then for the actual filter that's on the bike, it's a K&N, just like this one. I've got the same one that's on it from before. Well, this is a new one. And the cap of it, you can see here that this socket will fit on the end of this. If not, I can always get it off by hand, but still, it's always a, you know, kind of fun thing to use. A couple shop rags, shop towels, things like that. And in this case, I'm going with Castrol Power One V-Twin. And how did I know how to get this amount of oil and the oil type? Well, simple as that. Get yourself a very vital information, which would be your owner's manual. Yes, Manuel. Is it Manuel? Yes, owner's manual. Anyway, yes, in here, I've already taken the liberty of opening up to the actual page. It's very important to read this part where it says engine oil in your owner's manual. It says SAE engine oil. Viscosity. Suzuki recommends the use of SAE 10W40 engine oil. If SAE 10W40 engine oil is not available, select an alternative according to the following chart. Well, in this case, at the store, my local AutoZone, they did not have the 10W40 there, and I live in, you know, really warm temperatures, so the temperatures are not going to get any lower than 0 degrees here in Houston, Texas. But I went with the 20W50, which is the one on the very top of that chart, and that is what I did. As you can see, SAE 20W50. Okay. Now, how do I know how much to get, or how much oil to get for the bike? Well, that's simple. Okay. Each one of these containers, if you read down at the bottom, or this picture that I'm going to show you here, it shows 946 milliliters per bottle. All right, and I'm showing you the calculations here in a second. As you can see over here on the side is where you can tell where or how much fluid goes into your bike. It's on the side of the casing over here. There's another picture I'll show you here. So I've already done the math. It's about approximately 2.5 quarts of motor oil for this bike. So I went ahead and I got 3, and I'll probably use the other half of this one when I buy the next oil change, and I'll just have to get 2 more, and I won't have to buy a third next time. So I'm kind of thinking ahead. But that's all the tools that you're going to need for this job. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the oil pan underneath the engine itself and drain that oil. So here we go. Okay, so now all the oil has been drained. I got a couple of small drops just dripping, and that's totally fine. I'm trying my best to get all the old oil out of the engine. Now when I took this fuel filter off of here. Not fuel filter, listen. Oil filter off of here. I didn't just like hurry up and take it straight off. I actually unthreaded it so that it would actually start draining, and I stopped. I froze for a second and I let it continue going, and then I slowly started taking more out, and eventually the pressure wasn't so great that it would be making a mess everywhere. So take your time whenever you take these things off. I also used the socket for this one to break it free. As you can see, that actually, it works. Some people recommend using a box end wrench, but hell, I mean, you can use this or a box end wrench. It's either one is fine. All right, now these filters, they do match up. They're the same thing, only this one's black, this one's white. I was inspecting the seal on the old one, making sure it was a good one. Now on this K&N, I like these. When you open them up, they've got the actual the date and the current mileage placard that you can. It's a little sticker you can put on the side of the bike, so you know when the last time you actually changed your oil. It kind of helps you keep up with the actual mileage that you put on the oil filter. So, and at this point would be also the oil as well. Now, what's very important is, and I got this at Walmart, which I will cover oil filters in another video, because I've got a lot to say about oil filters altogether and why I use K&N, why I use Mobil 1, why I use what I use. So, all right, now before you, it's just like a slow drip, but that's totally fine. What I'm gonna do right now is you never ever want to put an oil filter back on an engine, whether it be on a car, a motorcycle, or what have you. Don't ever do that if the O-ring on here is dry. Don't do that. You're really gonna mess yourself up. First things first, before you put any oil on this, is on the old filter that came off, make sure, like I said, I was inspecting it, I was making sure that this O-ring was still attached to the actual filter itself, because these O-rings can come off and they will stick to the actual engine itself. And you'll think that you pulled this off and you'll put a new one on, and then whenever you go to start the car, all that pressure is going to go through those O-rings and you're just going to have a mess. It's just going to blast oil everywhere. I've done it before on my mom's Ford truck, and I was unaware about that, completely forgot. I was in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry when you're doing something vital. This is the lifeblood of your engine. Don't neglect that at all. So make sure that the O-ring is not on the engine, that it's just metal. And then you take oil from, I mean, it's okay, you can take some of the oil from like the oil pan and just with your finger apply a little bit around the edge. That's it. You don't have to do a lot. Some people, they like to fill these things up with oil and then they put them on. It's not necessary. I wouldn't do that if I was you. Now if the oil filter was inverted like this, not inverted, but vertical like so, you can fill it and then plug it in, whether it be on a car or a bike. But in this case, on my bike, it is not. It is horizontal. So that's what I'm going to do now, is we're going to go ahead. We got that all lubed. It's going to be a good seal. So now I can go ahead and put the new filter on. When you put it on, you don't have to use tools. You can crank it on by hand. If it will agree with me. Not what I'm doing right now. Oh, they sold me the wrong one. The thread count is wrong. On the inside here, the thread count is wrong. They sold me the wrong one. That's frustrating. Well, alright. I don't want to do this, but what you would normally do is take your new filter and you put it on the bike and crank it down by hand only, okay? Because they gave me the wrong one, I will have to take this back. I'm not really happy with that right now. That sucks. Man, that sucks. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the old one back on since it's a K&N and it's still a pretty good filter. I would leave the other filter on there, but it's not necessary right now. I mean, dang it. That's fine. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and put the filter back on, but this is how you normally do it. You actually take it on here by hand, thread it on perfectly, taking your time. I know oil is on the ring for this, so we're good there. And don't crank it down with tools, do it by hand. Just snug, and I promise you it will be fine. It will be just fine. All right, and then the next thing you do is you take your drain plug, which in this case, this drain plug has a magnet on the tip, which is good. What I was inspecting in the video is after I take it off, I drag my finger across the magnet and I look at my finger and move the oil around. What I'm looking for is silver inside the oil. That silver inside the oil is metal shards, real small metal shards that basically it tells me the condition of the engine itself. It lets me know what's going on inside the engine simply by the magnet on the drain plug. This is the same thing with automotives or any other car. Some cars have magnets, some don't, but luckily for me on this bike, I do, and I'm really fortunate for that. The next thing I'm going to do is put in 2,300 milliliters of oil in the bike, and make sure it's measured correctly. Once all the oil is in there, now I'll take my time because I'm only going to put 2.5 of these quarts inside this engine. As you're filling it, have the bike level, or at least in this case, put it on a rear stand, which makes things much easier. Look at the sight glass that is right here, and you want to make sure you can see the fill line where it says F and L, that's full and low. You want to have the oil level in the sight glass level with the full line. And then whenever it reaches that, stop. Don't put any more oil in your engine. You're fine. But whenever you, but do that after you've run the bike for a little bit, because you need to put oil back inside of the oil filter. Now, here I am putting the drain plug back in. Don't over crank it. Just a little bit of snugness because it's aluminum. You can strip it. Don't do that. You're gonna hate yourself for a million years because you stripped an aluminum casing, and it was for the lifeblood of your engine. So, well, hopefully this was a rather informative video for you. Hopefully it was helpful. But whenever you do this, guys, take your time because this is so important. I think. Yeah, this is very important to know. I'm actually kind of disappointed that they gave me the wrong flipping filter, and I don't think I have a receipt for it anymore. So, because I had lost it somewhere. Man, that sucks. Alright, with the oil completely drained out of the engine, it is now time to put some lifeblood back into it. This is that sight glass I was talking about. This is actually a clear piece of glass that you can actually see the oil level. This is you'll see the letter L and the letter F. On this bike, it's a SV650. Luckily for me, they put the amount of oil that is required inside of the engine and a sight glass so I can see the oil condition itself. If it's cloudy, if it's still pretty clear, just basically I can see the condition. Now whenever, I also lied, I apologize. You need one more item, and that is a funnel. Use one of these. It can be red, blue, doesn't matter what color. Just use a funnel so you can put oil back inside your engine. So let's go ahead and do that. Whenever you work on this, use a clean rag, a brand new one. Don't use any old ones, dirty ones. And a clean filter as well. I'm not filter, a clean funnel as well. Alright, so I have these two. I know it's going to require 2.5 of the motor oil, 2.5 quarts. Before you start any of these jobs too, make sure your engine is cold or cool. You don't want to do this when the engine's hot because it's going to hurt. It's going to suck. You're going to burn yourself. So I do not condone any unsafe maintenance on your motorcycle. So don't hold me responsible because I won't claim responsibility. Alright, that is quart number 1. I'm gonna leave that there for now. And then quart number 2, quart number 3. Okay guys, this is the moment when you need to pay attention. Alright, remember I took the oil filter out and it's empty going in. Alright, now that's your sight glass. I turn the light on so you guys can see the oil level on the inside. Okay, there you go. Now, I'm trying to hold it as level as possible. You can see that it just shows it's barely low. Now, the way this bike sits up on the stand, it's just a little bit to the right, so technically it's just below the low mark. Okay, so not only do I have to make up for the space inside that oil filter, it still needs to fill, but the bike's also on a lean a little bit to the right. So I have about a 1/2 quart left to put in the bike. Now, if you don't know how to measure that, on the side of these bottles, you can see that there's a little scale. And each one of these scales is fairly transparent. You can see the liquid level on the inside. If I roll it to the side, see how the level changes right there? I'm just tilting it. You can see how the level's changing. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put oil into the engine, and I'm gonna make that little line up there stop right here at about the 500 milliliters or the half mark. So that's what I'm gonna do. But definitely pay attention to those. I'm gonna stop recording because I need 2 hands to do this. Or you know what, screw it. I'm gonna let you guys watch. So this is what we do. You take your time with this because you don't want to put too much oil in your engine. It's actually a bad thing. You put too much oil, you're probably wondering what happens. Alright, well, it's simple. Your crankcase can't take the pressure, so there's a vacuum line for your crankcase. The crankcase has a vacuum line. It will eventually suck up some of that oil, and then it pulls it up into the intake. Yeah, that's right, you heard me right. Into the intake of your engine. Okay, the air box. Alright, I poured some in there. Which is just over that. My goal is to get right about here. Just at half. And down there, I don't think it's moved. Yeah, it did. Yeah, see, it looks like it's over full, but it's not really that full. It's probably just above it. So I might actually just stop there. And I'll run the bike for about 10 seconds or so, then shut it back off and let that oil circulate through the engine, and that oil level will go back down. Oil level is going to go down. Okay, I know it looked a little bit high. I just bumped the throttle, not throttle, but just like turned it on for a second. Well, let me turn it on one more time. You guys can see what it's doing. Alright, here we go. See that? All that oil circulated through the engine. And then as soon as you shut it off, the oil level should settle right back down. What it's doing is going through the engine, it's going over the crank, it's going through the filter. See, now it looks like the oil level is stupid low. I mean, like there's no oil level at all. So what I'm gonna do here is we're gonna put some oil in it. Keep going. I'm gonna make sure there's plenty in there. See, it's slowly draining off the crankcase and out of the rest of the engine and back into the bottom of the case. So the oil level is going to continue going up until it stops eventually. So I'll put some more oil in there, just a little bit. All right, and then, like I said earlier, I'm going to go down to, okay, I'll be as level as I can. Right about that half mark, so that's right close to 2,300 milliliters, and I think I'm going to stop right there, which is it's a really smart thing to do. You don't want to put too much, because that oil will find its way up into the air intake or the air box, and it will be all inside of the air filter. It can damage your air filter, and then it'll suck it into the intake, and your bike will actually be burning the oil from its own case itself, from the engine. You'll think that you're burning oil, but it's really, you got too much oil, guys. It's most likely your problem. Alright, so the bike is at rest, engine's off, and that oil line is like right there at the full mark. So let's turn it back on. Zoom in real quick so you can see. And boom. Well, let that oil circulate, and it should be good to go. That, my friends, is how you change the oil in your motorcycle. I don't believe there's anything else I can show you guys. And I wish I could show you guys a new filter on there, but unfortunately the store sold me the wrong one. So shame on me for not paying more attention to that, but I will be going up to the store to exchange that, to fix that problem. So to fix that problem, I'm just gonna clean out the drain pan itself, and then I'll drain all the oil out. I'll swap out the filters, and then plug it back up, and I'll take the oil that was just put in here now, and I'll put it back in the engine, and I'll be good to go. So it's kind of a hassle, but I mean, it happens, guys.